got to do everything just on schedule here in Q for the Hollywood effects. This is an official production. Hello, everybody. It looks like we have everybody here today. First thing on the itinerary is says Memorium. We're going to talk about we just recently, a few months ago, learned 4 of our old teammates have passed away. Perhaps 5. Richard is going to tell us.
I'm not going to bring that up.
Okay, 4 of our old teammates have passed away, and so we're just going to briefly remember them. This is going to be short, but Gene is going to come up and talk about Steve Lewis.
So I found out, I think it was last year about this time, that Steve had passed away. His brother had called us and told us. Steve was a cool guy. He was always funny. He was happy. Always had a smile on his face. I've known him since we came from Ohio in '69. And he was the first guy I met in the Woodbridge area. So a lot of baseball, a lot of basketball with Steve. Steve, I think, talked to Coach Rodgers when I was in 8th grade and asked if I wanted to go to the 24-hour relay. I said, what? And he said, well, Coach says you can come. I said, all right, that sounds cool. But because I was going to play football my freshman year, which would have been a big mistake. But so when I got around all these guys, that's when I said, yeah, this is cool. So, but miss Steve. I hadn't seen Steve for a long time, but still he was my first friend. All right.
Thanks, Steve.
Okay, we lost another dear friend of ours, and this was my stepbrother, Michael Hartmeyer.
Oh.
Yeah. It's, well, he wasn't my stepbrother when I was in school. Okay, but my mother married Hart, his father. And when I came back from VPI for the Christmas break my freshman year, I found out I had a whole new family. I mean, I was the youngest of my original family, and I came back to a family of 5 other kids that were younger than I, still living at home. So, but Mike, I tell you, Mike was a nice guy, genuine. He spoke from the heart. He was on JV, I believe, my senior year. And I didn't follow him that much as far as cross country and track after I graduated. But I did see a picture of him in the yearbook, and there was a caption saying that he was one of the top prospects. Okay, when I believe he was maybe a junior at that point, or a sophomore. But anyway, hey, he was a great guy. He always had a smile on his face. He was always willing to take a risk and do what he could. So I'll miss him. I remember celebrating his 18th birthday, as a matter of fact. We went down and we went camping in Shenandoah National Park. And then we went to Virginia Beach and met at the Deep Area. And that's when it all went to hell. And rest in peace, Mike. We all love you.
Ross, I just realized I maybe should have asked you. Robin Roberts passed away. I really don't. I did not know him well at all because he only ran 1 month in September of 1972, according to all the records I see. Later in the spring, he ran track. He was a quarter miler, but as far as cross country goes, he ran 1 month, 1 year. That's all. But he was one of us. He was one of the guys out there. He was part of the long green line that pushed all of us. So it's unfortunate that he can't be here. Last person is Dutch Schemmerhorn. And Dutch was a personal friend of mine. We socialized outside of practice, outside of sports. Dutch played bass guitar, and Robbie Irwin had a drum set in his garage, and I played lead guitar. So we would meet over at Robbie's house, and we did the best that we could to play rock and roll songs, make them sound as good as we could.
I was a groupie.
Dutch was, well, one of his goals, I remember, was to be able to play the bass riff to the Lemon Song by Led Zeppelin, because that bass riff is just long and complicated and pretty fast. And he said a number of times that he wanted to learn how to do that. And so he had musical goals. He was a great guy to work with, learning music and learning how to play in a band. He was just as good as he was as a teammate, trying to become a better runner. He was just a great guy to work with. So we'll miss him. Excuse me. Anyway, we just wanted to briefly remember all of them. At this point, we're going to move to the main section of this afternoon. And about a dozen people are each going to come up and basically recount their memories of running on the team. I'm the first person. And usually I don't read from notes. That's not the best speaking style. Russell Edwards has a fantastic speaking style. He just shoots off the hip and he makes it sound great. I try to do that, but this time I'm actually going to also quote a couple of other people who couldn't be here. They sent me things they want me to say, and so I want to make sure I read exactly what they said, the way they said it, and so I'm basically going to read from the script. Coach, your first team in Woodbridge was 1970. And I don't know what the '69 team was like, but you inherited something that might generously be called mediocre. You guys had, how many guys did you have?
7 people.
Yeah, and you had a losing record that year, a 14-20 losing record.
Oh, yeah.
So this is what you walked into. The following year, after 1 year, you changed that record to 81-39.
Wow.
A winning record. And the year after that, in the spring of '72, Coach Gwynn, there's several people from Fred Lynn here who will remember Coach Gwynn. He announced in May of '72, at the end of the track season, he announced to the track team that anybody who's interested in running longer distances should stay after practice, because coach from high school was going to come by and talk to us about cross country. I was one of those people, and
How did they miss that?
you weren't there. Why did we let this guy on the team? What are you doing here? Yeah, we were all sitting in the gymnasium. Well, you were probably just already a foregone conclusion, I figured. I was sitting there, and I still remember you coming and telling us about your coaching philosophy and about cross country, and trying to convince us that we should come out and run for the team. And it was consistent with what you were doing at that point. The newspaper articles quoted you after your first year of coaching, after 1970, saying, one of the things I need to do is recruit more freshmen. You need to build up a base of younger runners. And that was really smart, because that's exactly what you needed to do. You knew it, and you did it, because by 1972 you had about a team of about 40, and you had accomplished that. And that was building the base that was going to be the base of success. And so I made it. What you said that day made sense to me. It sounded reasonable. It sounded good. I thought, this guy knows what he's doing. I can succeed in that system. And so I was on board. And when I made that decision, that was a decision that made a profoundly positive change in my life. Not not just for the next 40 years. I mean, we all know about the next 40 years, but the 47 years after that as well. So the morning of Monday, August 14th, 1972, you might remember, it was warm and humid. We all showed up at the old school for the first day of cross-country practice. I got my first look at Pitts, Carey, Blank, Clark, Robenheimer, and 35 other people that you had recruited. We had about 40 people that year. And so that was your third year, and you got third place in the state meet. Started off with a losing record, and then 2 years later, boom, third in the state meet. I mean, that's just meteoric success. That's what Hollywood loves to see. And then in the following year, fall of '73, Link, Clark, and Robenheimer were led the team to second place. And in '74, it was first place. '75, again, first place, even better. I mean, that's a success story. But it's just amazing. So I would end there, but what I want to do now is read from a couple of other people. And surprisingly, Don Lisenby sent something I'm going to read verbatim. I had written something, and it's almost the same as what he just wrote. He and I are just, I mean, exactly the same mind. He used some different words, different phrases, but I'm going to use his words just to interject him to the proceedings. When your lungs are struggling and your legs are burning, when your back is seizing up, and when your mind says you don't have to keep running, you can quit, and the pain will go away. Those challenges, all when you're running for your team and for yourself in the end, they help form you. These times test you and form your mettle. For me and other Viking runners, we trained very hard to overcome these challenges. I'm not sure that we could have had a better training environment as youngsters. Coach Rodgers pushed us. We pushed each other, and in the end, we pushed ourselves to the limits that our young bodies would go. This support system of creating an environment to test ourselves was the legacy of our coach, but also the friendships and support of our fellow runners and friends. Coach Rodgers walked the walk. He was a runner himself. Even though he didn't like to talk about it, his toughness was mental, he was serious, he was thoughtful, and more than anything, he was determined, parentheses, who runs 50-mile races?
Gene.
It showed in his approach to coaching. He also understood potential. Woodbridge teams were filled to the brim with hopeful runners who wanted to be part of something big. His teams were filled with a variety of talent, all trying their best, and some that were naturally gifted. But everyone felt at home on the team, and this created an environment that felt like family. To be fortunate enough to experience this team environment was truly special, and it helped influence me later in life. This example of leadership from Coach Rodgers and the discipline I learned at a young age certainly helped me in life, both professionally and personally. Not everyone gets to enjoy this kind of environment, and I've never taken it for granted, the fortune that I had being a part of a Jim Rodgers Woodbridge team. One last short quote. This is from John Hoskins. He remembers you well. And this is very short and sweet. He sent a whole paragraph, but one sentence out of it was particularly relevant, and I asked him if I could read this. He said, he called you Mr. Rodgers whenever he was thinking of you as something other than just a coach. Mr. Rodgers didn't know it, but for those years he was sort of my dad too. My father never left. My father was never home, and Mom left when I was 6. So
wow.
He looked up to you. Anyway, Coach, thank you for what you did and doing it so excellently. We depended on you And you depended on us, and together we built something worth remembering a lifetime. That's all I have. I'm going to hand off now to Mike Rizal.
While he's coming up, Robbie Irwin texted me last night, said tell everybody hello. He's sorry, but the grapes came in. They have a vineyard. Aside for being a neuro whatever doctor, I'm not sure what stage he's in right now. But and Ricky is over in Greece, so he couldn't make it either. He said to say hi.
Unfortunate.
Coolio. That's what Robbie said in the bread. What are you talking about? Coolio. We didn't know what that meant. It's a California.
I think learned to share.
We're standing in the back, and Joe's like, "You're second." Oh gosh, I went last night. I went last night because I don't like talking about myself, but talking about Coach is a lot easier.
Is it?
Called Coach. Used to visit him when I was living locally, but then after a while, moved on, distance, and was in Texas, a long way away from Virginia. And Coach moved, this coach, and so it was actually right before his birthday. I didn't know it was his birthday. I was for the past 2 years. I'm like, I'm gonna call Coach. I'm gonna call Coach, and the only number I had ended up being Linda's, and I was like, and she said, "That's Linda." I was like, "Oh, Mrs. Coach." I'm gonna call her. Oh goodness! And so she said, "Well, yeah, Coach is at home, and you call him." So I called. And so some of this I already got to tell you on the phone personally that day, but so I've already told you what I've been doing with my life, and right after high school, went on to run in college, and was encouraged to do that because I didn't think I could do that, and Coach encouraged me to do that. And so then I get into college, and the first 2 years had not a very good coach, and my last 2 years had a good coach. And then I had 5 kids, and all of our kids. My wife was a student, was an athlete. We talked about her coaches, and our 5 kids. They all had, we're on sports, and they're all still active today. And through the years, I have always looked for someone who could even come close. And I told him on the phone, I said, there's only one that came barely close. Coach Rodgers, and so then I got into, I didn't know it, but I ended up, teaching future teachers and coaches and principals and college administrators. And I talk about Coach Rodgers to all of them. And he's, the exemplar, the benchmark, just amazing. And somebody said last night, it's not just the way you coached, it's how you treated us. It's amazing. And the other thing I told him was, and you can tell from what I've said, by far one of the most influential people in my life. So yeah, that's enough. Woo!
Coach Rodgers, that same smile. That smile says a lot, okay, and it told me a lot over the years, and all I had to do was look at you, and it was a don't bullshit me smile, I know you're not doing the workout I told you to do. But I was probably deep in that long green line that we had, and but Coach Rodgers never treated me any different than the rest of the team. And I know there's plenty of times I'm sure I disappointed you out there on the field, and but I didn't want to disappoint, And you were someone, again, and it's been mentioned by others, you have been a father figure to many of us. And, you know, just, we talk about the glory days, and we created a lot of glory days. A lot of you guys, I mean, are just phenomenal runners and phenomenal people. And from the stories we saw last night, you know, that legacy lives on. And it's not just, you know, the glory days of the years of the 70s of Woodbridge High School cross country, but it's, you know, the families that you've helped create here and the accomplishments of these people, all of us really. I mean, everybody here has just phenomenal life stories. And, you know, those glory days continue to live on. It's not just thinking back, but it's being lived out through everyone's lives that you've touched. And so, having said that, I just, you know, a couple of real quick things, and I know I sent Daryl a couple of little stories, but, you know, the days where we'd be running the long runs, you know, Mark and I would be down there and Stewie, and we'd be out there on the power lines doing a long run and coming back up Woodbridge Road, and Coach Rodgers, you know, he's everywhere on the course, man. He's got everybody, you know, he's watching you, and he's watching you, and he's watching you, and he's mapping it out, and he knows what you're doing, he knows what you're not doing. And sometimes he would catch you, you know, and be Rosado, right? What are you doing? And other times there wouldn't be any words, or you wouldn't even know until you're in a team meeting, you know? And then it would be Rosado in front of everybody, you know, like, so, but again, thank you. And thank you, Mrs. Coach, for all the support that you've given, you know, the team over the years as well. And but congratulations, and it's certainly a celebration, you know, of everything you have done in your lifetime and extension to the rest of us. So thank you, sir. We love you, man.
So is there a special order?
I'm getting to it right now.
What kind of?
Next is Brett. This is the best way. I've already knocked it out.
Thank you. Of course you did, So I have something prepared that I'd like to read. I wrote it a number of years ago. I sent it to Coach, but he may have forgotten about it. But it kind of sums everything up for me. But before we get to that, last year, right after Christmas, I get this text from Russell. He's learned about the gathering last fall up at the school, and he's basically telling me that he almost cried because he missed out on it. And he says, "Did you know about it?" Like, you know. I feel pretty bad at this point. But I will say in hindsight, I'm glad we missed it. Because it probably would have been an either or for me, and this is so much better. And my thanks to Bob and to Mark and to Dee and to Daryl and to PJ for putting this together. So I'm really, really thankful for that. You know, we've heard about, you know, the background here, right? Where Coach has got 6 runners, right? And then in 1972, he's got a different issue, right? He's got 40-something. And he's not saying no. Okay? And how many can you handle, right? You know, what if it had been 50? What if it had been 60? What if I had been the 70th person to come on the team that year? Would he have said no? So, that's where this story begins. I was in Paris on a business trip, staying at a hotel within the shadow of the Arc de Triomphe. Early in the morning, I took my run down the Champs-Élysées, through the Jardins de Tuileries, past the Louvre, across the Seine, over whichever bridge struck my fancy. And having left the 90-degree temperatures of the U.S. East Coast and running in the 50s in one of the most beautiful cities in the world, you could say I was having a good run. And then that thought returned. He could have cut me. Nearly 50 years ago this fall, my friends disappeared after school, having chosen to participate in a sport called cross country. With no one to play touch football with, after school, there was little choice but to join them. The only problem was that at 13 years of age, I didn't have a runner's body. Husky was my pant size, and there was nary a fast twitch fiber in my muscles. 3 weeks into practice, a short, pudgy freshman approached the coach to see if he could join the cross-country team. The coach had 45 guys on the team. This kid was not going to help him this year or the next, and he was a second shift student, no less. Most fall athletes attended first shift to better facilitate the afternoon practices. He could have said no. Not always last. I was flirting with the donkey's tail for most of my freshman season. Still, he didn't cut me. In fact, from my perspective, he treated me no differently than the stars.
Yep.
Encouraging me during races, pushing me during practices, asking me how I felt, even going over my racing splits. We were over 40 strong as a team, and he was there for each and every one of us. Wouldn't his job have been easier if he'd cut me and others? To say that I'm thankful would be an understatement of a lifetime. The people I've met and run with, the places I've run, the events that I've participated in, the events I volunteered for, such a large part of my life would have never been. No, he could have cut me. But running creates fast friends because we know the drive, the determination, discipline needed to succeed at this sport. Mutual respect comes automatically. And one of the best compliments that I received was at a corporate cross-country race where teammates said, "I knew you were a cross-country runner when you stepped into that hole and you just popped right back up like it was no big deal." That was Bob, who had become a lifelong friend. And at the other end of the spectrum, the acquaintance is but for a moment. An on-the-run encounter with a Japanese businessman in Atlanta whose only English was hotel, and my only Japanese was Fuji, which is what I said when we went up the big hill.
It's me.
I've been blessed to run with a group of runners at lunchtime and during the week and Saturday mornings for the last 20 years, and typically it's a rolling yak fest where jokes and good nature and ribbing are shared. Sometimes we push, sometimes not. As we age, the pushing is less frequent. It just feels good to stretch the legs. These runners, I count among my best friends. If he would have cut me, this would not be. I've been doubly blessed to run with my wife and our 3 children. My children all ran cross country, and my running experiences gave me the ability to encourage them without overhelping them. While their level of post-high school run interest differs from mine, they have the ability, the confidence, and the knowledge that they can head out for a run anytime they want, and sometimes they do. The beauty of this world has been more accessible through running. I've run in so many wonderful settings: Glacier, Zion, Bryce, Grand Canyon, Acadia National Parks, the Charles River Pass in Boston, Park Avenue in New York City on a cold November morning, along the Niagara River where I stumbled into a Saturday morning running group, more fast friends. Bike paths in Seattle, Monterey, San Francisco, Seattle on a clear day where Mount Rainier taking up the entire sky. Colorado mining towns where the oxygen is as scarce as the precious metals they mine there. The French Quarter in the morning, not recommended.
No.
Too many unpleasant odors. What I wouldn't have seen if he would have cut me. As a runner, could I have foreseen being called that in 1972? There were defining events. The Boston Marathon twice. The Penn Relay. Okay, it was a corporate relay then. Beta Breakers, where we were smashed like sardines in the starting line. Corporate running championships in St. Louis, Chicago, San Francisco, and New York City. There was also the pleasure of meeting some of the sport's defining personalities. Frank Shorter, Billy Mills, Jim Ryan, Leo Mazzana, Jared Ward, Greta Weitz, Joan Benoit Samuelson, Molly Huddle, and Kay Switzer. A special treat was cooking blueberry pancakes for Dick Beardsley and his wife and watching a Big Ten football game with Dick on a rainy Saturday afternoon after running the Virginia 10 miler that morning. Woody Hayes once said, "You cannot pay back those for what they did for you, but you can pay forward to others." Directing and assisting races has brought unimagined rewards. During the summers, the coach encouraged the running community by directing all cover track meets. He performed all the functions: set up, registration, timing, ribbon preparation, and even managed to compete in some of those events. And when I moved to Lynchburg 30 years ago, I was looking to compete in track meets similar to those and the ones I had in St. Louis, and I kept telling myself, if somebody would put these on, I would love to participate. And the more I kept saying, if somebody would do that, it occurred to me that for them to happen, that somebody was going to be me. So for 30 plus years, we've had track meets every Tuesday in June. Hundreds of children, boys, girls, men, women have enjoyed these races. Who would have directed those races if he would have cut me? The last 10 years serving as a lead runner coordinator for the Virginia 10 miler has been very enjoyable as we try to return the race to its glory years, and working with top runners from the US, Poland, Kenya, South Sudan, Ukraine, Russia, Czech Republic, South Africa, Canada, and Ethiopia has been a whole lot of fun. And finally, there's the numbers. Sterile, stark, sometimes sublime. 50 years, over 60,000 miles, hundreds of races, a dozen marathons, PRs of 204, 434, 950, 1603, 2706, 3345, 57 flat, and 248. The memories, people, places, and events, a lifetime of fitness and enjoyment, and I have to say it one more time, you know, you could have cut me. So, thank you so much.
Russ, you're next.
Well, I'm the only one who was there before Coach. I had a year before him, Coach Steffens, and that was a different experience. The Coach Steffens had a note he put up. He said, "I'll post the workout for you in the locker room." And if you remember, in the old school, and probably every locker room, they had an office with a glass window, you know, for the coaches in there. He put a sign up and said, "Run the loop," and that was, you know, out across, like, oh, I can't even think what roads, Hoadley and or Horner and out to Hoadley and Davis Ford and on to Minnieville and back around down Smoketown and back Telegraph Road, I guess. And I don't know the length of it. In my mind, it has gotten to be 13 miles, but I know it was more than 10. But anyway, it's a long run. But anyway, he said, "I'll post the workout. You know, I won't be there today. I'll post the workout." Well, the signs started getting yellow and cracking, you know, by the end of the season, and it just said, "Run the loop" every day. And we saw him for meets. And he would occasionally come out and drive on the course and catch Willie Yabiko doing something that he wasn't supposed to be, or he'd find out that people hadn't gone the whole way. But we never saw him. And then this new guy showed up. Oh yeah, we saw him every day. And like you said, he was out on the course, and you do, or he would be running with us or doing whatever. But we all talked about how much we love Coach. But I'll tell you, there's a dark side to it. For example, Tuesday, September 5th, 1972, the 12:30 run was just 2.5 miles. Be back at 4:30, mile and a half warm up. Killer Hill 4 times for time, then jog a mile. Now 4 440s. Now the Stadium Hill 10 times. And a mile cool down. Next day we were back, 2.5 mile warm up, 4 440s, Stadium Hill 10 times, mile cool down. Thursday, easy day. Went and ran I don't know if this was home or away, but we ran against Quantico and varsity won, oh wait, no, we didn't even run. We just ran Woodbridge JV, beat Quantico 15 to 44. And Woodbridge C team beat Quantico JV 17 to 46. But Friday, we're back. 2.5 mile warm up, 4:40. Stadium hill 10 times and a mile cool down. And let's see, what was this one? I got one other one. Yeah, the next Tuesday, September 12th. 2 mile warm up, a mile, then a 13:20. And then this is weird, but it matches a 7:50. Where the heck did you come up with that? But I know it's not an 880 because I never ran a 157. And a 600 and 2 440s in the stadium hill 5 times and then a mile cool down. It's like, oh my gosh. And to tell you the truth, you know, we didn't say anything to you, but we mumbled and grumbled. And you would never tell us, oh, we're going to do 4 440s. It's like, all right, back on the line. Yeah. You know, was that the way it continued like that? You never knew, and they just kept going and going. And all we could do, if you were in my, you know, we would just get mad at Jack West. And we would harass him because he would be telling us, you know, oh, you guys need to get over there or something like, shut up, Jack. And then we had a rainy day one day, and I remember the first time when this was done, and it was in the winter, it was raining, and we're like, Coach, let us run in the school, because it was raining outside, and now we're going outside, and finally we convinced you. And it didn't work out like we thought. How many of you got to do Russian running? Anybody ever have to do that, where you had to put your feet, reach down and run, you know, like this, I mean, almost touching your toes?
Do that.
I don't remember, maybe that's not what the Russian running was. There was something, but there was this day that we decided we thought we had won by getting you to run inside. And he said, and he had this thing where we put our hands down almost to your toes, and then you had this, you know, sprint. Stay in place for an eternity. And then, okay, again, and again, and again. And I don't know that it did one bit of things for us, but it did tell us never to try to get into this. But, yeah, that's it. So, there were times we really didn't like you toward the end. But then when it was all over, we did. We did. And, you know, and I'll tell you, I was not very athletic. I was good academically, I was not very athletic. And I didn't have a lot of confidence in it. And you gave me that confidence. And I'll tell you, you know, particularly when I went and did that 50-miler. I don't know how many times I have thought, well, I did a 50-miler, I can do this. The Marine Corps has a lot of good physical tests for you. And I got that confidence from what I did in high school. I wasn't particularly fast, but that confidence really built. It was like, oh yeah, I can do those sort of things. And then when I got out in the world and ran again, you know, went to do physical fitness tests. Okay, I wasn't really that fast in cross country, but I was pretty good on the Marine Corps fitness tests. And just those things, it was like, I did a 50-miler, I can do this. I can do this, and that confidence really paid off. And all I want to say at the end is, after my dad, you're the most influential man in my life. And I thank you for it.
I don't know how to follow all of these things, but Mike, I'm going to tear up. So thanks for that.
Sorry.
My road is a little different to get into running. You guys had Fred Lynn, you had somebody visit you. I ended up with Coach as my gym teacher the end of my freshman year. skinny, scraggly little kid, so I get to run, right? If I was big, I get to do the field events, but I got to run. And we just ran every freaking day. All the things that are said, you just over and over and over again. And for whatever reason, I enjoyed it. And at the end of the semester, or whatever the period was, we had a track meet. And I ran the mile, and it won. And he came up to me and he said, "I'll see you Monday or you fail." So, that's how I got into it. But I do have to say that, like you just said, it's the best thing that ever happened to me. I love hearing the stories because I love all the stuff we ran and we were supposed to be doing this and we were doing that. Everybody did that. And it wasn't probably until my junior year that I got a little bit serious about it. And that's when I started, you know, the 500-mile club, the 1,000-mile club. I really tried because I was not happy with how I was performing. And I did pretty good my senior year. But what I remember is more about the others. And Brett, you just went through it beautifully. It's just like, it's not about me, it's about everybody else. Everybody has different abilities. And there was not one person that you turned away. Not one person you didn't support. You didn't focus on those that were better, more talented, faster, however you want to phrase it. And I think it's the perfect sport for it because running is individual, but cross country you still have the whole team. Because you can be number one, you can be the top dog, but you got other guys that add up to your score. And I think that's probably, to me, one of the best things that you've taught me with where I've ended up in life. Because I manage a lot of people, and everybody counts. Everybody's piece and part counts. And I think you recognize that, and everybody here, that's why you didn't cut anybody. You never know. And to me, it guides what I do. Just like you, my dad, and you. And you're real close. And I really thank you for everything you've done for me. It's guided what I do every day. So, appreciate it.
I remember you were regional champ across country.
Yes, I was. And I would not have done it without you. I would not have done it without you.
Very great. On that nice course.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So it's a little harder when you step up here. I got in trouble from Bob for moving around too much yesterday. So the camera couldn't keep up. So, I'm going to try and plan here. I learned early in my career it's harder to hit a moving target. So I had some stuff prepared when Daryl asked us to do this. And after last night, I thought I'm kind of going to change gears. A lot of it had to do with the stories that we heard,
right. But
then a lot of it had to do with the Four Roses bourbon that Joe pulled out of it.
3 o'clock, 3:30?
Yeah, very much that. It's Joe's fault. But, so we heard these stories yesterday, and there is a lot of success in this room. And you think about it, you could pull people together, and there wouldn't be that much success, but with this group, there is. We took different paths. We had different strengths, different weaknesses, and yet we were all successful. The one thing that we all have in common is right here. And that's to your credit. There's no question that you were a good cross-country coach, a great cross-country coach. You can build cross-country runners. You can take an average runner and make them good. You can take a good runner and make them great. You can take a great runner and make them John Henry. But
he's not bad.
He was so much more than a coach. You were our mentor. We've heard that you were a father figure to some. You were a friend to everybody. And that was important. You taught us a strong work ethic. You taught us morals and values. You instilled those in us. You taught us the importance of teamwork. And those are all things that we built on and that enabled us to be successful. And that's a credit to you. You did all that. But the thing that I appreciate the most is that you never passed up an opportunity to teach us life lessons. And I've got a million examples. I'm going to share one quick story just for the sake of time. So we were in a weight meeting, and it was in the locker room after the meeting, and everybody was pretty much gone. I don't remember the circumstances. I'm like, man, I need to get a move on, so I still need to take a shower. And I take my uniform, and I thought, if I leave it on the bench here, there's nobody else from the team, somebody's going to steal it, right? So I take it, and I have my clothes down there, but I put my uniform in the locker. So it'll be safe there, right? So I take my shower, I hurry, get out of the shower, put all my stuff together, run to the bus, and get home. You guys already know where this is going, right? So I get home, I'm unpacking my bag, and I went, oh, shit. I've lost my uniform. And I'm sitting on the edge of my bed, my face fell on my hands, and I'm just like, oh, my dad comes in and says, what's your problem? He said, Dad, I lost my uniform. He said, well, that's not good. He said, you need to call Coach. And I said, no, that's not a good idea. He said, no, you need to call Coach. So I make the call, and I'm probably a blubbering idiot on the phone. I said, Coach, I lost my uniform. And I thought, this could go different ways. And I'm thinking, you know, he'll just add on about it. But you didn't do that. You held me accountable. You said, Russell, that uniform is your responsibility. You let yourself down, and you let the team down by using that uniform. And there's going to be consequences. It says the school might make you pay for it, and I don't know if I can find you another uniform before the next meeting. So you screwed up, and there's consequences. You did not let me off the hook. But what I think I was most worried about was going to practice the next time. I thought, oh my God, he's going to hold me up as an example. He's going to tell everybody what a dumbass I am. But you didn't do that. You held me accountable for my actions. You told me there would be consequences for my actions, and then you let it go. And I modeled that my entire career. When I had employees screw up, I held them accountable. They knew they would be held accountable. They knew there would be consequences, and then we let it go. We got back to work. And I learned that from you. And I learned so many other life lessons from you, and I could sit here all day and talk. Yeah. But that was so important to me, and I built my entire career. We raised our son accountable for his actions, my employees accountable for their actions. And you look at the world today, and it's not like that. There's no accountability anymore. And you taught me that, and I'm sure you taught other people that as well. And I can't thank you enough. Thank you. If I didn't close with this, it's a saying that probably we all know, we know different versions of it, but beside every good man is a great woman. And we would be remiss if we didn't say, Mrs. Coach, I'm sure there were times when it was you that got him through, like when somebody lost their freaking uniform. So thank you so much for being a part of this. And thank y'all. Did I do all right, Mom? Did I stand frank?
You did well.
Daryl, you have to put me behind the pro. God. I'm sorry. Don't talk attitude. Well, there are a lot of egos in this room, but you never know. Coach is always great to us until he stepped up next to you on the starting line. Quote unquote, when I'm running against you, I don't like you. It would be like a switch would go off. Summer runs and stuff, hey, everything's going good, yeah, okay. Get on the line, and he was like growling at you. So, but that translated to the guys as competition. I'm going to kind of go wander around here. You step on the line with Larry Link or Chris Robenheimer. I was afraid. They weren't going to hurt me. They're just going to blow my drawers off. But they were competitors. Not a cross-country story, a track story. We were at the old track, running the mile. I don't know if you were in the race. You were definitely in the race. And I think it was just a duel meet. Anyway, we come out of the first corner, and I'm 30 yards ahead of the pack. And I know Larry Link's behind me. And it's like, something's wrong here. And, but I stayed out there. I'm thinking, Coach is not going to be happy with this. I'm running too fast. I'm going to burn myself out. We come around the first split, and it's low 60s. It wasn't fat. I mean, it was a good split, but I was not running beyond my ability. And we go another lap or so, and I'm still in front. It's like, what the devil is going on here? And after a while, the good guys figured, well, somebody's got to win this race on our team. So I was too slow. I was taking it easy because I was out in front. And they all went by, and I didn't place, but of course, probably you won. After we all just walking it off, Larry comes in, what was your problem? I'm like, what? He goes, you were out front, why didn't you take off? I said, Larry, I'm not that good. He goes, who do you think was holding the other team back? They had boxed in the other team. It wasn't this, and going back to Coach, and you're not my friend, it was this guy who knew he was damn good, took the leadership position, held him back, so this guy might have had a shot at winning. So that's the ego part, because we all worked together, we all liked each other, but on the track, there was a job to do. And just the way you brought around that support with everybody, you looked out after each other. And then the early thing about cross country, what is so unique about cross country is you can be a star, but unless you have a team, you don't win it. And it's always that support. That just blew me. I mean, to this day, Larry, I mean, you know, we didn't hang out or anything, but it was like, Larry Link was kind of like, blow a race for me. And that's the influence you had on the song. So I sincerely thank you. I cannot top what everybody else has already said here, because it's true, you've influenced every day of our lives. I really, really appreciate it. Thanks, Coach. Richard, you're next.
Well, Coach, I tell you, I can't say enough about how you influenced my life. Because when I first started cross country, I didn't believe in myself. I didn't think I could do very well. In fact, early on in the season, my junior year, and my first year, I wanted to quit a couple times. In fact, there was one time where I was so disjointed, I forgot my running shoes to a dual meet. And you actually told, I don't know if you remember Jimmy Lang or not. Yeah. Okay? You actually had him take off his shoes and give them to me so I could run the meet. And ironically, I didn't even finish the race. But that told me how focused you were on how that pinpoint concentration of, we've got to get this done. Okay, so we'll have to make arrangements to get it done in some way. We've got to adapt. And that adaptation is probably the best thing probably I did in my career as a high schooler, to be able to adapt to the different races that I had. Because cross country, I was okay in cross country. I wasn't that good, okay, but track I seemed to be a little bit more suited for that. And I remember my senior year, you taking D and I to indoor track meets, invitationals and all. So you were always there for us, you always provided that support that we needed. And you also gave us the belief that we could do it. And I really appreciate that. And it's carried on through my life. My work ethic is very, very good. It doesn't matter what job I do. It may be a minor job, a minimal job as far as importance, but I always make sure that I try to do the best at what I do, no matter what it is. And I take pride in that. And that's because of you. So thank you.
All right, like everybody said, it's going to be hard to, everybody has said pretty much everything so far. But Coach, if you look around, how many people have one of these? Everybody except for 3. Mike, Russell, Corey. You'll get yours this year. If you think about since high school, how many people are on Medicare? And we're back for a gathering like this. It really says something. I mean, it's really heartwarming. I'm going to put this back before I forget it. But I'm going to get a little scattered in my thoughts. And pardon my voice. voice, starting to lose it, but I'll share just a couple of real brief instances. I started outdoor track sophomore year, and I finally felt a part of a team, which everybody has talked about already before. But the things that you did off time, because you were off for the whole summer too. I mean, you had a summer break, but you had those all-comer meets, and that really meant a lot to me. And that kind of fostered, you know, I really like track, and I always wanted to be a half-miler and everything, and that was going to be my goal. I looked up to Elizabeth and all those guys, and, you know, John, he is here. But
Don't scare us like that.
But anyway, those all-comer meets meant a lot. But I wanted to be a half-miler. But this is going to lead me into another story. And I don't know if you remember this or not. I don't think anybody remembers this, but I remember it very well. I actually quit the team my senior year in outdoor track for a week and a half. And I remember it, and I wanted to be a half mile. And Coach came up and he said, you know, you thought about college, where are you going to go and everything? And I said, yeah, I'm going to study oceanography and everything. I'm going to go to FIT. I'm not sure if they even have a team or not, but I'm going to go down to Florida, and that's where I'm going to go to school. And Coach looked at me, and he's, you know, had me as a runner now for a year and a half or so, and he says, I hate to tell you this, but you're not going to be a half miler. You're not even going to be a miler. You know, you need to start thinking about some longer distances. Well, that took the wind out of my sails. It really did. And at that time, there was a freshman that year, Jimmy Saylor. I don't know if you guys remember him or not. He was a very good runner. And he was training with his dad. And he asked me, he says, you can come train with me and my dad. So I actually quit the team, life lessons. And I went, and it was all about speed work. I was running these 22:20s. I've never heard of that workout in my life. 22:20s. Man, this is great. I'm feeling great. This is awesome. You know, I'm not doing this distance stuff. I'm doing, you know, some speed. This is going to help me with that 880 time. And I thought about it, and I felt really bad inside, and I did that for a week and a half. And I came back, and this man welcomed me back on the team, put me on the track that afternoon, and I remember Tim Keenan running. I don't remember who else. And you held up the practice, or at least you had a section of the practice where I was going to run a little time trial, that 880. And I ran my fastest time, I believe, that day. I think it was a 2:07 or 2:08 or something like that. And it was fast, but I was back where I belonged, and he welcomed me back. I mean, you think about the time when, you know, Coach had, you know, no cuts. Everybody was welcome. But to quit the team, come on. And then be welcomed back, that says something. I'll never forget that. Thank you. The other thing was, you didn't want to disappoint this man. And I don't know if you guys remember, speaking of Saylor, Lisa Saylor's party. It was a Friday night. And I didn't go to many. I think I can count on one hand and come up with lots of change how many parties I went to in high school. But I did go to this one. It was on a Friday night. And Saturday we had practice, and Coach found out about that party. And I remember being upstairs in the gym, and he had us all sitting down there. And he was visibly disappointed. And he found out, you know, there was beer and, you know, everything else over there at the party, and the Saylor's parents were complaining and this and that and the other, and he got back to Coach. And he was, but you didn't want to disappoint this man. And I for one, just bared the weight on my shoulders. Gosh, I think this is my second party in high school, you know, and this is what I'm dealing with. But I'll never forget that, and just didn't want to disappoint this man. I hadn't seen Coach. I'm scattered here, so bear with me. I hadn't seen Coach in 40 years until Gene, and Daryl's induction into the Hall of Fame. And it just happened to coincide with our 40th high school reunion, 2016. And I was looking forward to going to the high school reunion and talk to Bob Stewart and Tony. And we were all going to go out and everything. But kept in touch with Daryl somehow, and Daryl said, yeah, he's going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. And he was able to get us a couple extra tickets to go to this thing. That 2 hours at that induction meant more to me than any high school reunion with everybody else, because it was these guys. And it was something that you said, Coach. I don't know if you guys even know, I mean, some of you do know that there is a Hall of Fame at Woodbridge. And it's that massive wall up there, and there's pictures of, you know, athletes and so forth that did, Russell Davis, you know, people like that, Joe Beasley, of course, John Henry, Daryl, Gene, Don Rosenbein. I think there was one member that wasn't up there and unfortunately passed, and that was Tom, right? No?
No, we don't know about that.
We don't know about that.
We're not sure about that.
But he wasn't inducted, I don't believe, was he?
No.
Okay, so he was the only one left from those 5 guys that scored those points. But in the middle, I'm not sure which one it was, if it was Gene or Daryl's, Coach turns around from the podium and he looks up at that wall and he said, we got guys here from Florida, Georgia, North Carolina and everything that came up for this special ceremony for these guys. And he said, we had guys on the team that are never going to make this wall, but it was equally about them as it was these guys. And that really meant a lot. So appreciate that. Final thing that I have is what to do for Coach. I mean, in the day of trying to downsize everything, I know I'm personally trying to do it at my house, and I have stuff everywhere. But I wanted to have a coin design for Coach that had some meaning to it. And we all have meaning here, and there's a lot, you know, that can be put on a very small coin, or not so much that can be put on a very small coin. But I tried to do something with some significance to it. So on the reverse side of the coin, it's got the state team in '74, the first year that Woodbridge won the state championship for the high school. And it's got all the runners that were on that team that went to state. And then it's got, and that was a 57 score if I'm not mistaken, that first 1974. And then the 75 team that scored 27, and that point total still stands today for Virginia AAA state championship. And those guys on the back of that. On the upper side of the coin, it's got a picture of Coach. Unfortunately, I had one picture that I actually used for that. They tried to make it into a 3D, but it was from that when Gene and Daryl got inducted into the Hall of Fame. And I got a saying that you had on there is, we're going to beat them on the hills. When you run up the hill, you don't just, that's it. You make the big, you go to the top of that hill and you continue going up. And so I'll remember that. It's got the years that you coached at Woodbridge, the gap, the sabbatical, you know, and then when you restarted again. I believe you started in '70. I have to look at this. But anyway, Coach, this is for you.
Nice.
Take that out, look at the back of it, and I got one for everybody here.
Oh, shit, Mark.
Oh, man.
Yes, right in there.
There you go. Old friend.
So it's got the times, the runners.
Wow.
Interesting in talking to Daryl, and I had to get on the state website, you know, to find out the records and everything. And I even called Daryl. I said, Daryl, did you actually have the exact same time your junior and senior year? He said, I did. That's crazy. Yeah.
It's good planning, so much.
Wow.
That's all I got.
I think that's enough.
That was a nice finish, if that's the finish, jeez.
Okay, you guys gotta top that now.
Hey, Daryl.
That's the end of this.
We're gonna need a picture.
Picture up there. What kind of picture?
Well, everybody.
I'm gonna go up there and take a picture of this. I'm sorry. I'm a scrapbooker.
Hey. Let her have her fun.
Yeah.
What do you want me to do?
I'm just gonna take a picture just like this when she comes back.
Yes.
And then,
The three of us?
all of everybody.
Everybody.
I'm just gonna do everybody.
Stand here or
Yeah,
You were on the ground.
go back
Why don't I
to
just
stand up back there.
Because everyone else is seated.
You gonna Photoshop her in there?
Oh, that's sweet. That sign back there too.
Hey, while we're waiting, I said yesterday that I was one of the young guys. And I want to thank all the guys that I'm calling old guys for setting the foundation for what I walked into.
Yeah.
Because you guys, you know, you set the bar high. And not only did we have Coach, but we had what you guys did prior to us getting there for something to shoot for and maintain. So thank you guys for that.
Doing this shit over my shoulder.
Right there, old guys.
It was you old guys.
Older guys.
Old
Right now, I have to say
It was you old guys.
My knee surgeon at your age.
So for those of you that are interested, Mark talked about the Hall of Fame ceremony. Here we go.
Wait, let's get the pictures.
Thank you very much. Next on the list, another one back in the 70s, Gene Jones, and we'll get
I'm gonna take a picture with you so you can watch the video. So if everybody wants to smile. I'll go on this side of the room.
You were set.
And then, if anybody else wants pictures, come up now.
In the 1975 state meet, Gene finished 6th overall to again help lead the cross-country team to the state
This is
championship.
great, yeah.
That
Okay.
team is arguably the
Thank
greatest
you.
cross-country team in history of the state of Virginia, leading by a margin of 7 places.
I
41
want,
years later, that still marks
it's
the mark
easy to
of
put them on
victory in state
Facebook,
history.
on Jim's.
Gene was on multiple occasions named first team All-State.
If you send them to me,
Named All-State.
if you send them to me, I'll put them on the thumb drive that I'm gonna mail out to you.
Well, Gene
I'll give you my email address.